Hello, and welcome to the weekly Pre-Shabbat AGJC Zoom call. Each week, we gather together the Jewish communities of all the 6 GCC countries and our families and friends from around the world to hear an inspirational message before Shabbat, light candles, hear a Dvar Torah, pray, and read a section from the weekly Torah portion. Today, we hear from Ambassador Jacob Rosen, retired, who formerly served as an Israeli ambassador to Jordan and is currently a consultant for demographic mapping, who will speak about emerging Jewish communities, Kobe, Japan, as an example. The Association of Gulf Jewish Communities is the umbrella organization of the Jewish communities of GCC countries that are building and enhancing Jewish life in the region. While each community is independent, we share a common goal and vision for Jewish life to flourish in the Gulf for the benefit of both residents and visitors. To stay updated on AGJC events, please follow us on Twitter at GulfJewish and visit our website www.gulfjewish.org. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom, an easy fast, and a Gmar Chatima Tova.
Thank you so much, Huda. And now we will head over to Sue, who's going to light this week's Shabbat candles.
Yes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. And now we will turn to Avi, who's going to lead us in Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid nefesh avarachaman mishoch avdecha el ritzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ayal ishachave muladarecha ki arav lo yedidotecha minofetzu vechotam adur nae ziva olam nafshi cholat avatecha ana elna refana la beharad la noam zivecha az titchazek v'titrape v'hayta la simchat olam v'tik yehemuna rachamecha v'chusana al ben ahuvecha כי זה כמה נחשוף נחשפתי לראות בתפארת עוזך אנא אליכם דע ליבי חוסנה ואל תתעלם הגלנה ופרוס חביבי עלי את סוכת שלומך תאיר ארץ מכבודך נגילה ונשמחה בך מהר אהוב כי במועד וחננו כי מעולם.
Thank you so much, Avi. And now we'll head over to Alex, who's going to lead us in Lecha Dodi.
Shabbat Shalom from Abu Dhabi, where the Jewish community is preparing for the first Yom Kippur in the Abrahamic family house with Rabbi Rosen, and we all excited and looking forward for that. So first Shabbat. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. שמעו וזכה בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך מלוכה, קומיצאי מתוך אפיך, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלי חמלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Thank you so much, Alex. And now we're going to head over to Jean, who's going to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, Ariella, and thank you, Huda and Alex. Always great to see you. Jacob Rosen is an independent consultant in demographic mapping. Prior to his retirement in 2015, he was senior counselor at the Center for Political Research in Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Jacob is a veteran diplomat, having served as Israel's ambassador to Jordan. His other diplomatic posts include Atlanta, New Delhi, Cairo, New York, London, and The Hague. He also served as political advisor for the international affairs for the mayor of Jerusalem. Jacob is an executive member of the International Institute of Jewish Genealogy. Born in Poland, he immigrated to Israel at the age of 9, where he later served in the IDF and studied Middle Eastern Studies at Hebrew University. He is the author of the book, Crossing the River Jordan, The Journeys of an Israeli Diplomat. I had the pleasure of meeting Ambassador Rosen at a Sephardic genealogy conference meeting this past summer in London. As a testament to the strength of our communities, once Jacob heard I was from Dubai, we connected and had much to speak about, especially as his recent work has focused on emerging Jewish communities like ours. And now it's my honor to hand the call over to Ambassador Jacob Rosen.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you to all of you. Hello from Jerusalem. I am delighted to speak to an emerging cluster of Jewish communities in the Gulf, something which is very encouraging, very enlightening, because normally when we speak about Jewish communities, we speak about Jewish communities which disappeared, which were destroyed, which were expelled, all sorts of tools of the world happened to them. And suddenly we are witnessing at our lifetime, new communities just popping up, Jewish communities popping up in the Gulf, except from Bahrain, which is an old Jewish community, but all the others are creation of the last 10, 15, 20 years. And I think it's very interesting to record it, to write the history, to see who the people are there, what are their professions, and so on and so forth, in order to be able to write the next pages of history. And what comes in mind, I want to compare it with what happened in Kobe, in Japan. Why Kobe? Well, my late father-in-law, David Apotheker, was one of the Sugihara survivors, or the one who was lucky to get the transit visa from the Japanese consul in Kaunas, Lithuania, to Japan. And he barely spoke about anything, but we knew that he was in Japan, and from Japan, he made his way to Shanghai. So I started, since I am a genealogist and dealing with demographic mapping, it's basically identifying people or characters in people by the surname, given name, and then attaching them to tribe or to a clan and so on and so forth. I decided to check what happened there exactly in Kobe. So the first document, let me just, I hope that the screen share will work. Yes, it works. Do you see it? Can you see it? Sorry.
Yes.
You see this one. This is the official paper of the Jewish community of Kobe. They were corresponding with the JDC in New York, processing the Jews who arrived to Kobe, who were trying to get further visas to the United States. What caught my eye is the Jewish community of Kobe, and beneath it is written Ashkenazim. Well, you don't know, but I'm Jewish. And when I see something like this, someone makes a point that he's Ashkenazi, it probably wants to differentiate himself from other Jews who are not Ashkenazi. So this is, since I am a genealogist, I decided to start digging in. And I started make a research. Who were the people in the Jewish community? If you can see on the paper here, at least on this paper, you have many Russian names in the board. Sorry. What I'll do, because we don't have the time, what I'll do just telegraphic, I'll do a telegraphic presentation just with photos, just to make the point. Here you see all sorts of Jewish Russian names, because this was the Jewish Ashkenazi community in Kobe. So I decided to look around. Since I don't know Japanese and I do not have access to Japanese archives, I decided to use my own means. And what I was doing basically is, like in the Gulf, most of the Jews who arrived to Kobe were in the business. And Japan was closed to the outside world until 1860. They didn't want any dealings with foreigners. And then one day, an American destroyer, a Navy ship, made a tour around the shores of Japan, and they decided to open themselves to trade with the West. So the first traders started flocking in from the West, from America, from England, and of course, the Baghdadis of Shanghai. And what I decided to do, I started checking the business directories of Japan. We have them, all of them are scanned in the National Library of Japan since 1900, every year, like yellow pages. And this is what it looks like. You have a few things. On the left side, you have all the businesses who are the businesses. On the right side, you have surnames of the foreigners who live in Kobe. So you can see already here, Abraham, and here Leon, which is, I'll immediately speak about him. This is how I started collecting names every year since 1900 until 1941, where you can see who are the Jewish names. As you probably know, most of the Jews have distinctive Jewish names, so you can identify them. If you are a little bit more advanced in it, you can know who is Ashkenazi, who is Sephardi, who is Mizrahi, and if it's Mizrahi, whether it's from Baghdad or Aleppo or Damascus, and so on and so forth. Another interesting feature which they had in some directories, they also have lists of ladies, alphabetical order. So sometimes maybe the husband was not that prominent, but his wife was prominent. So this is how I catch them. And for example, there was also American Jewish Association, which had members, the Anglo-Jewish Association, which had members. And this is a list of members here, members from 1910. And you can see Abraham, Ailion, Antaki, Borkowski, Baj, Del Burgo, Eric, and so on and so forth. And this is a list from 1938 of members of the Anglo-Jewish Association. You can see another names. You can see already the mishmash of names. And so this is very nice. It gives you some idea how it works. But what about the community? Until 1900, we know very little, except for this very famous man, Aelion. He was very famous Sephardic family from Saloniki, Ha'elion or Aelion. He came from Amsterdam, married a Japanese woman. This is the grave of him and his wife. What is written in Japanese, Hebrew, and English. He later on, his granddaughter donated all the money to Leiden University. And here is another man called Lyons, very famous. Yehuda Leib Lyons, married in Istanbul, had a big house, which was once Mr. Guggenheim, a relative of Guggenheim from New York, lived there. And here in the 1930s, the Halabis and the Damskin started flocking in. Here you have a grave of Mrs. Polisa Schwecke. She was 100 years old when she died a few years ago. There's a book about her, Womb of Diamonds, a true adventure from child bride in Syria to celebrity businesswoman of Japan. This Schwecke family became very rich. They even have a coat of arms. Very interesting, I think. And how the community behaves. So now from the business directors, we know who the people were, who are the Jews, from their names. I prepared an index of names. You can see you have the Sephardic names. You have the Mizrahi names, Dabach, Schwecke, Mish'an, Shahrabani, Sassoon, Savdiye, Rachmo, Wahba, and so on and so forth. And of course, quite a lot of Ashkenazim. So we know who the people were, what were their businesses, but what was about the community? Did they have a synagogue? Well, there is now a synagogue run by a Chabad rabbi. The synagogue was established in the 30s, sort of synagogue. But what I discovered through Mr. David Moshe in attending the meeting, as I told you, there was a Jewish community. The Jews started talking in 1860. Here's excerpt from the Hyogo News, a newspaper in Kobe in 1970 about a marriage in the Kobe synagogue conducted by Reverend Gallagher of Gaston Blas of Kobe to Sophia daughter Michael Blas of Memphis, Tennessee. In the 1870, already Jews from Tennessee were in there, and they had a synagogue. Later, the synagogue disappeared, and all of us. What is very encouraging, the Jewish community in the Gulf, or at least in Dubai, has already the Abrahamic synagogue, and of course, Jews also not live; they also died. So there's also cemetery. And it's cemetery, Jewish cemetery. There was a problem. I'm going to finish now, but this is the last remark. In Japan, there was a special cemetery for the foreigners. So the Jews were buried together with other foreigners. And at the beginning, I'm not sure whether they're buried by religion or by name. So there's a big mixture about who is buried in the now Jewish cemetery, which was reorganized in the 40s. But there was a big mixture, and we really do not figure out. But be aware that for genealogical research, if someone wants to do a research about emerging Jewish community, go check the cemetery, try to record the matzevot, and go to the business directories. I hope that the same thing happens nowadays in the Gulf communities, and I hope that someone is doing what should be done for future generations. Start recording the names, not more details. Who is living there? What is the domain of his profession? And this is how we shall be able to live for future generations, some idea how the Jewish community in the Gulf started growing up. If you have any further questions, because I don't want to take the further time, my name is Jacob Rosen, Königsburg. You go on Facebook, there's only one Jacob Rosen, Königsburg. You can always send me a private message, and I'll be more than glad to answer questions. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. I see some silent rounds of applause. But it's really, really a special presentation. So thank you for joining us. And now we will turn to Rabbi Rosen, who's going to share some words of Divrei Torah with us this week.
We are not related, but everyone asks me whether I'm related to Rabbi Rosen.
But we are just good friends and going back a long way.
Yes.
And it's a joy for me to be with you all. I think this is my third time that I've had the pleasure of contributing to your pre-Shabbat Zoom. And 3, as you know, in Jewish tradition is a chazakah. So I think in some ways, I'm absolutely therefore connected to you. In the past 2 occasions, I have been able to speak to you from my home in Jerusalem. This 3rd occasion, I'm speaking to you from Abu Dhabi. And in a very, very unique context and occasion. And I am serving as the rabbi over these high holy days in what is in fact a hiatus in the development of the synagogue and of the life of the Abrahamic family house generally. And as you know, the theme of the high holy days, the main theme, is the theme of teshuvah. Teshuvah is often translated inadequately as repentance. But the word teshuvah actually comes from the root lashuv, meaning to return. And in fact indicates a returning to God, to goodliness, to godliness, the capacity that the human being has within herself, within himself, to overcome errors, mistakes, and to be able to improve the moral and spiritual content of one's life. So that's the general theme. But while I've been here, I've been thinking of the term teshuvah in a somewhat different sense, or to be more precise, lashuv, to return, in a somewhat different sense. It's been wonderful for me to be able to join together with people from all over the world in services at the Moses ben Maimon synagogue, and to have the privilege not only of blowing the shofar on the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah, which was very emotional, but to be able to read the Torah portion from the Sefer Torah that was given by leaders of the Jewish community here to the President of the UAE in memory and tribute to the founder of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed. And this Sefer Torah, which is of course in Sephardic style encased, very beautiful gold and bejeweled casing, is the actual scroll itself is really pristine and beautiful. And that was very exciting for me to be able to read from that and to read also the declaration, the testimony that was given to the President of the UAE when the Sefer Torah was presented by Ross Creel and Eli Epstein and Rabbi Sana. In addition to that, Sharon, my wife, and I had the pleasure of visiting an amazing exhibition at the Louvre at the moment, I think is only there for 3 or 4 months, called Letters of Light, which is arguably one of the most greatest exhibitions ever to bring the greatest manuscripts, texts, most ancient artifacts from the 3 different Abrahamic religions. And amongst these wonderful items is the headstone that was found a few years ago in the Ras Al Khaimah region, with beautiful Hebrew lettering showing that Jews were buried there. And that was headstone is apparently from the 16th century, but we know from the writings of Benjamin of Tudela that when he traveled around the Arabian Gulf after Europe, he came across a Jewish community that was here, and that was the 12th century, and he was contemporaneous with Moses ben Maimon Maimonides himself. So there is a great sense that, in fact, that what's happening here, as Ambassador Rosen already mentioned, is not only a renewal of life, but in fact is a return of life. It's a returning to an ancient heritage that was here and that has been forgotten. And in a sense, it is a renewal of the great heritage of Sephardic Jewry, especially in Arab Muslim lands, that to a very significant degree has been, if not forgotten, diminished. And now we have the opportunity to resuscitate it, to revivify it. So in wishing you all a successful teshuvah, that we will all succeed in improving ourselves in terms of our moral behavior and our spiritual conduct and help contribute to a better society, let us also celebrate this wonderful renewal and this Shiva, this return to re-establish Jewish life, and may it continue to flourish, and may the year ahead be one in which we are all indeed written and sealed for good life, and it be a good life for Jewish life here in the Gulf as a whole.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Rosen, and what a wonderful message, very poignant to go into Yom Kippur with, and of course to Shabbat. So thank you for joining us again. And for those who are in Abu Dhabi and are lucky enough to spend Shabbat and the Chag with you, I'm sure it's very meaningful. And now we'll turn to Alex, who's going to read from this week's Parsha.
וידבר אדוני אל משה בעצם היום הזה לאמור על ההרים הזה הר נבו אשר בארץ מואב אשר על פני יריחו וראה את ארץ כנען אשר אני נותן לבני ישראל לאחוזה ומות בהר אשר אתה עולה שמה ואסב אל עמך כאשר מת אהרון אחיך באורח ויאסב אל עמיו על אשר מעלתם בי בתור בני ישראל במי מריבה קדש במדבר סין על אשר לא קידשתם אותי בתור בני ישראל כי מנגד תראה את הארץ ושמה לא תבוא אל הארץ אשר אני נותן לבני ישראל.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I will head over to Eric, who's going to read the English translation.
That very day, Adonai spoke to Moses, ascend these heights of Abarim to Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, facing Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving the Israelites as their holding. You shall die on the mountain that you are about to ascend, and shall be gathered to your kin, as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor, and was gathered to his kin. For you both broke faith with me among the Israelite people at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin, by failing to uphold my sanctity among the Israelite people. You may view the land from a distance, but you shall not enter it, the land I am giving to the Israelite people. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Eric. And now we're going to head to Jean, who's going to read the prayer for the GCC.
May he who gives salvation to kings and dominion to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, who delivers his servant David from the evil sword, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters, bless and protect, guard and help, exalt, magnify and uplift his majesties, the king of Saudi Arabia, the king of Bahrain, the Sultan of Oman, the president of the UAE, the emir of Kuwait, the emir of Qatar, and all of their crown princes. And may the supreme King of Kings, in his mercy, put a spirit of wisdom and understanding into their hearts, and into the hearts of all of their counselors and officials, to deal kindly with us, the house of Jacob, and all the people of this land. May their shelter and stronghold, may be their shelter and stronghold, and let them not falter. In their days and in ours, may these lands be blessed with stability, prosperity, and peace. May this be his will, and let us say Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And before we head back to Avi, who's going to usher us out with Shalom Aleichem, I did get a few questions asking about the schedule over the next couple of weeks with the Chagim. So just to address that quickly, we will be regular time, same place, same Zoom link next week. We have Israel's new special envoy for combating anti-Semitism, who will be joining us. So that will be regular programming. They'll be off the following week, just because some people are traveling. And then we'll resume after the Chagim, where we're really honored to have the Chief Rabbi of the UK joining us for the first Friday after the Chagim. And then we will actually move the Zooms 30 minutes earlier, just because Shabbat's coming in earlier. So hopefully that addresses the myriad of questions that have been coming through. And now, without further ado, we will send it back to Avi.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Poachem L'Shalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon, ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ברכוני לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, צאתכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שבת שלום.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, gmar chatima tova, everybody.